we often hear Joseph Smith speaking about God and God's nature, his attributes, and he speaks in terms of God existing in time and space, having a physical body, and so we hear that God, in all intents and purposes, in Joseph Smith's view, everything is material, everything is matter, and so we're materialists. Joseph Smith was a materialist, so um, the hard sciences, particularly physicists and chemists, those who really study the nature of the universe and who are trying to understand exactly our origin and what happened, who would ascribe to a more materialistic worldview, also comes with the idea that we are essentially just um, we're just acting out according to our brain chemistry. We're just our genetic makeup has kind of predetermined what we will do in any given environment. And so, under this worldview, I don't see a very strong sense of free will, which seems to be kind of our overarching discussion of today is free will. But we have a view of materialism that boils down to we are essentially just kind of these like um, genetic like meat puppets or meat robots that are just carrying out directives according to our genetics and our brain chemistry and the various neurons firing in our brain under any given circumstance as we take in information from our environment. This doesn't seem to me at all to be compatible with Joseph Smith's view of materialism, though. And so I'm wondering if you might be able to kind of talk about that distinction.
Yeah, let me I in preparation. So sorry, this will have to be the last thing we discuss, unfortunately, because I've got to go in a few minutes. But
Yeah, no
uh
worries.
let me if I can share screen just to get to so yeah, this here is share. Just a little graphic to help explain kind of the way you might go on materialism. So as you said, I think can you see are you able to see my cursor as well as the screen or
Yes.
not? Okay,
Yes, I
sweet.
can.
So we've got an axis. So yeah, I think a lot about these things along two axes. I think this is a common way to think about it in philosophy. You've got kind of the more materialist side, and then you've got a dualist side where you might think that we have physical matter, but also immaterial mind stuff or spirit, substance, or soul or something, right? So an Orthodox Christian is going to tend to be on the dualist side of this spectrum. As you said, scientists are going to tend to be on the materialist side. They think that yeah, everything is made up of just matter or something. That's a common view amongst, as you said, like the hard sciences. And then the other axis is non-reductive or reductive views. And this is going to, I mean, really, this is, I think, mostly relevant on the materialist side. It's hard to know exactly what like a reductive dualist picture looks like. But, well, I mean, I guess it's certainly possible. So like what I'm thinking of here is things like free will and the mind in particular, but maybe you're also going to include things like morality along this axis. So Latter-day Saints, I think, are going to tend to the materialist side because Joseph Smith said that everything is matter. But if you're like a scientist, so the kind of picture you described, kind of what you might call the scientific picture of the world, is one on which, yeah, we don't have libertarian free will because everything's determined by neurons firing in our brain. You might not even think the mind is much there. It's just mental states are identical to brain states. So you're going to be on this bottom left quadrant here, where you're a materialist who's very reductive about our mental lives, about free will, that sort of thing, right? You're going to explain our kind of what we think of as being a higher level of talk of our minds, down to the physical level. Right? You're going to try to reduce biology to chemistry, chemistry to physics, or something, right? That would be
Right.
a reductive materialist. Latter-day Saints, I think, are going to tend to be, like I said, materialist because Joseph Smith said all spirit is matter. But we're going to tend to want to be non-reductive. We want to preserve a robust sense of moral agency or free will. We want to say we have minds, right? We have things like beliefs. We know things. And so, yeah, so I think you can have the scientific materialist reductive worldview, and many scientists, but not all, do. But there's plenty of philosophers who want to be non-reductive materialists. I imagine in fact, that will be the dominant view in philosophy, at least, is that we should accept that there's no soul or mind substance. So in that sense, you want to be on the left side of this quadrant. But we don't want to reduce everything away. We want to have some kind of free will. If you're compatibilist, maybe you're hovering around here. If you're libertarian, you're going to be higher up. But certainly when it comes to the mind, most philosophers don't want to get rid of propositional attitudes like knowing and believing. They want to have a robust view of minds. They want to be non-reductive, right? So I think that's going to be where Latter-day Saints are going to tend to fall. They're not all Latter-day Saints. I know reductive materialist Latter-day Saints, but I think that's when you're looking at kind of that overview of the philosophical landscape. That's what you're going to be want to be looking at is non-reductive views that are also trying to be roughly materialist.
Right. And I think a big aspect of this too is as science has become has advanced over the years, we have a very strong sense of materialism. Uh, it's right down in the very laws of physics that matter cannot be created or destroyed, at least not in any way that humans can conceive of. And so it would be hard to be a scientifically minded individual and not believe in something similar to this worldview of materialism. And if you're at all, uh, theologically minded, if you're, belong to a particular faith tradition, like Latter Day Saints do, you have a very strong sense of free will, and so it would be hard to reconcile the idea of free will with material if we're going to go down the reductionist route of purely just our genetics and our environment make up exactly and predetermine exactly how we behave in any given circumstance. And so yeah, I would agree. I think most Latter Day Saints probably are a little bit higher on that chart, on the materialist side as well. And so that seems to be what makes most sense to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. I think that's a plausible way. I mean, so like it's not a great chart because really you might want to say monism rather than materialism, because some people think that there's one stuff that makes up the world, but it has both. It's neutral in itself, but it has mental and physical properties. Other people think that physical substance is all there is, but it has mental properties. So it's going to be kind of monist / materialist, but like also kind of dualist because you have two types of properties. And obviously, Latter-day Saints themselves are not super strict materialists because we think that there's spirit matter that we can't currently see. Presumably, it's not susceptible to like study by physics, and so we're like not super far left. We're on the materialist side, but like we've got a kind of stratified materialism, right? So yeah, I mean, there's nuances here, there's complications, but I think thinking of ourselves as being in the top left of that picture is going to be the best way to kind of reconcile a lot of our commitments. Yeah,
Right. We would frame it in the way I think most Latter Day Saints would look at this, and then frame it as we are not bodies with a mind or with a spirit. We are spirit with a body. We exist as intelligences or spirits, which preserves our ability to to exercise free will, but we have a body. And we
yeah,
would say that about God. God is not a body, but he has a body.
right.